Shalom. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, double honor to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us His truth. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful like Akim, teaching and preaching His truth with all righteousness and sincerity. This is Akia Wasap, and today's lesson is entitled, "And the strangers shall be joined with them, and Lord willing, you be edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, the true names of the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son." And as always, the lessons, the sit downs, and the street speaking is for the remnant, the elect, the Israel of the Most High, and to use the gospel preached. So we'll be going into Isaiah 14 verses 1 and 2. All right, there is a stumbling block here, and as it says in the prophecies, we supposed to cast up, and prepare the way. All right, and let's see. Okay, Salaki. Here in Isaiah 14 and 1, it says this: "For Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel." Jacob represents the southern kingdom. Israel is the northern kingdom. All right. And that's who the mercy is going to be applied to. Salvation, deliverance is only specifically for Israel. Now, it's for the elect of Israel in these times, which at the end of the day, all Israel shall be saved, but the Lord is only dealing with the elect right now. Okay. For Yahweh, and that's the name that you come across when you see Lord in all caps. And of course, it's through his son, Yahushua. All right. That's our connection back to the Father. It says, "For Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land." All right. So the Lord is going to bring us to our land. There isn't going to be any paperwork that's going to establish us as a nation, and then that's how we, reclaim what is rightfully ours. The Lord is going to set us up in our land, right? And the prophecies really identify who the true people of the Lord is, and we often make these statements because it's very important that as we're teaching this truth, we focus on the prophecies, because you got the small hats over there in the land right now, and they got the land by way of paperwork and deception, so on and so forth. So in the prophecies, it said the Lord is going to set us in our land. It says, "And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob." Now, a person, who will read this with fresh eyes will think that these strangers are people outside of Jacob and Israel, and not knowing the history and the prophecies concerning Israel. This could be a stumbling block. All right, because the prophecies speak about how we will be scattered, right? And let's get a couple of precepts just to justify that. And then we're going to also go into that word strangers there to get some more edification through the spirit. So when you go here to Deuteronomy, and there's various precepts, we don't always have to go to Deuteronomy. Maybe what I will do is go into some other verses going into us being scattered. All right. This is Deuteronomy. Let's see. Chapter 28, verse 64. I'll actually read the 63rd verse to, build up the vibration. "And it shall come to pass that as Yahweh rejoice over you to do good, give us the land, give us the law, the statutes, and commandments, and bring us closer to him by way of the truth, so on and so forth, and to multiply you and bless our seeds. So Yahweh will rejoice over you to destroy you." The reason why Israel, or Jake, as we call it, and Jake is short for Jacob, is destroyed because, we transgressed the law, the statutes, and commandments. And the Lord brought the evil upon us. He put the spirit on our adversaries, our enemies, and these other nations to bring the destruction. It says, "And to bring you to naught, to nothing, and ye shall be plucked from off the land, whether thou goest to possess it." So in the prophecies, it says that we will be plucked out of the land. We will be scattered. We will be sent to other places. All right, and these places were inhabited by other nations, and we were mingled amongst them. It says, "And Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people, all nations, from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So when we got amongst these nations that we were scattered amongst, we started worshiping their different idols, partaking into their manners and customs. Now, when you examine the ministry of Paul, which Paul, he was an Israelite of the tribe of Benjamin. He was a man that was appointed to be an apostle to the Gentiles. Now, those Gentiles wasn't the natural Gentiles or the actual heathens. It was um, Israelites that were scattered among them, who were worshiping and following after the manners and customs of the nations whom they were amongst. Okay, that's what Paul's mission was. That's what his lot was. All right, and then let's get some other precepts going into how we were scattered here in Hosea or Hawashai. All right, in the eighth chapter, he was a prophet of the northern kingdom. So when we go here to the eighth verse, it says Israel swallowed up. When you read in Deuteronomy 28 from the 15th verse on down, those curses that the Lord will pronounce against us will swallow us up. It will destroy us. All right. Israel swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure. So, all right, here we're reading how Israelites will be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein there is no pleasure. And then when we got amongst those nations, we followed after those works. We became strange. We became a degenerate plant of a strange vine. Lord willing, we get that. Let's see. So this goes into some history of Israelites. It says, start at the 34th verse. Psalm 106, verse 34. They did not destroy the nations concerning whom Yahweh commanded them. Talking about when we went in to possess the land. You know, we wasn't destroying all the nations, which in all actuality, the Lord put the spirit on us to do this, because at the end of the day, this is a big movie that we're playing out, and everybody has their lots or assignments to do in the Lord's movie. All right. It says, but were mingled among the heathen. Talking about the Israelites that were mingled. Let's go into this word mingled real quick. It goes back to the word Arab. That's where you get the word Arab from, as you see there, which means mixed. Let's see. Mortgage. That ain't it. Exchange. Okay, that's a good example. Under B, the second entry, it says to have fellowship with, to share. All right. It was amongst them nations sharing a part of their culture. All right. They were acting like them. All right. Let's see if we can get. Okay, that is the primitive root. But Arab means to mix. All right, because Abraham's 6 sons that he had with Keturah, all right, collectively they were known as Arabs because they were all, mixed. Okay. So now when we go out of this, right, in Psalm 106:35, but were mingled among the heathen, these other nations, and learned their works, followed after their manners and customs, saw the different idols and gods that they worship, and partook in it. And they served their idols, which were a snare unto them, a trap, trapped them up. Yeah, they sacrificed their sons and their daughters unto devils, these different idols, and shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and their daughters, whom they sacrificed unto the idols of Canaan. And the land was polluted with blood. So Israel became strangers. They became strange. They got to doing things that was not naturally supposed to be done by us. You know, let's get some more. A lot of people say, "Oh, you guys just go to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter," where in all actuality, it's all over the scripts how we can pluck out these different precepts going into us being scattered. Let's go to Tobit. Tobit 13. Tobit, I believe he was of the tribe of Naphtali, and he was a part of the northern kingdom that got exiled into Assyria. All right, he had Tobit and his son Tobias, And then you have the angel Raphael that made a visit during this time as well and was leading Tobias on his journeys. This is Tobit chapter 13, verse 3. Confess him before the Gentiles, these other nations, ye children of Israel, for he hath scattered us among them. Israelites have been scattered, right? Let me see if I can pull one more, and that should prove how the Israelites, through prophecy, were scattered. Let's see about Daniel 9. Daniel, this was a prophet. He was on the scene during the time of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. The Lord was dealing with him and gave him some, future prophecies. When you read Daniel the 2nd chapter and Daniel the 7th chapter, goes into these visions of these kingdoms that will be erected, right? And we're still playing out some of those prophecies today. Let's see. Daniel 9:9. To the Lord our power belongeth mercies and forgivenesses, forgivennesses, Salaki. Though we have rebelled against him, we fought against him by not listening and following after his voice that he spake through the prophets. Neither have we obeyed the voice of Yahweh our power to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants the prophets. Yeah, all Israel have transgressed thy law. So if somebody coming in that perfect spirit, that's contrary to what's written in the scripts. It says all Israel, 100% of Israel have transgressed thy law. We all went off. When you read Romans 8:20, it speaks about how the Lord have programmed the creature or made the creature subject unto vanity. So he programmed us to go off, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore, the curse is poured upon us. So, some people make the argument of, oh, Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, that goes into, if you transgress the law. But when you read here in Daniel 9:11, it says the curse is poured upon us. So those curses in Deuteronomy actually came to pass. So what were they? They were actually prophecies. And the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of the Most High, because we have sinned against him. And so the scattering and all the different various things that you read from Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, from the 15th verse on down, as it says here, those curses is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of the Most High. So, once again, those curses were actually prophecies because we have sinned against him. It gives the example of why. It says, and he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us great evil from under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done upon Jerusalem. So no nation haven't went through what we went through. Okay. As it is written in the law of Moses, all this evil's come upon us, yet made we not our prayer before Yahweh our power, that we might turn from our iniquities and understand the truth. When you turn from your iniquities, that's repenting. But repenting is a two-step process. You got to repent and convert and worship the true power and call upon his name. All right. And then the Lord have mercy on you. He give you the spirit to understand the truth. So when we go back to Isaiah 14:1, it says, for Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel. The Lord is going to only be dealing with the Israelites, and it's all about the elect, and set them in their own land. The Lord is going to bring us to our land. And the strangers, all right, the scattered Israelites that was among these other nations. For example, those nations that Paul was going to, Galatia, Ephesus, Thessalonica, Corinthians, all right, Crete, Cyprus, these different areas that Paul was making his journeys to, those were looked at as strangers. Although they were Israelites and they believed in the word, all right, they were looked at as strangers because as we went into the various examples, Jake was mingled amongst these nations and they was learning their work. So they was looked at as strangers. They didn't have beards. They had tattoos. They spoke the languages of the nations. They ate unclean food. They thought, sexual immorality was okay, so on and so forth. We can draw parallels all day. It says, shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Why would they cleave to the house of Jacob? Because they are Jacob. We go here to Ecclesiastes, the 13th chapter. You actually utilize what's written in the scripts. It says this. Ecclesiastes 13, verse 16. It says, all flesh consorted according to kind, and a man will cleave to his like. You know how they say in the world, birds of a feather flock together? A man will cleave to his like. So the reason why these strangers will cleave to the house of Jacob, because they are of the house of Jacob. So when you read this second verse, it's more of a transition to a different part of the prophecies. All right. And you often come across things like that in the scripts. One verse can be talking about one time period, and then the next verse can be talking about something totally different. So here, when we read this, we're understanding it. It says, and the people, this is the Israelites, shall take them. It's not talking about the strangers. It's talking about these heathen nations. So it should say, and the Israelites shall take the Gentile heathen nations and bring them to their place. Our land is Israel. In the house of Israel, the Israelites shall possess them in the land of Yahweh for service and handmaids. And this is talking about the kingdom. Why would we possess our own people and make them service and handmaids when this is the kingdom of Israel? That doesn't even make sense. All right. And the people, Israel, shall take them, the natural heathens, and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh for servants and handmaids. We're going to make these nations our slaves. And they shall take them captives, slaves, whose captives they were. These people who ruled over us, they're going to get ruled over. We're going to make them our captives, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And let's get some other precepts that's going into that. Let's get Jeremiah 30. Because we're going to have slaves in the kingdom. Jeremiah 30, this is entitled, well, they entitled it Deliverance from Captivity, Promise. When we speak about the promises and all these different things that's promised to the children of Israel, one of them is that we will have slaves. Jeremiah 30:15. Why criest thou for thine affliction? Thy sorrow is incurable for the multitude of thy iniquity, because thy sins were increased. I have done these things unto thee. So the Lord is just giving a backstory on why we were going through these different afflictions and sorrows and curses and all these different things that was brought upon us. Like Daniel said, the curse that was brought upon us because our sins were increased. It says, therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured. When we were scattered amongst these nations and we were as a vessel that had no pleasure, these nations took advantage of us and they devoured us. So as a righteous recompense, because seeing that it is a righteous thing with the Most High to recompense tribulation unto them that trouble thee, that what a man soweth is that what he shall reap. Since they devoured us, they gonna be devoured. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured. And all thine adversaries, every one of them, 100% of them, shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. The Lord is going to weaken our enemies. Just like we were weakened, we had no strength in our hands. The Lord is going to do that to our enemies. These curses are going to fall upon them that hate us. Let me see something. Let's get something over here in Deuteronomy 30. Because just as Deuteronomy 28, 15 on down came to pass, Deuteronomy 30:7 is going to come to pass too. And Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon our enemies, these nations. When you read Psalm the 83rd chapter, there's a list of the enemies of the children of Israel, which are the enemies of the Lord, and it starts off with Esau, Edom. And on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of Yahweh, and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day. And that's in the kingdom. When our bodies is changed, and we have those bodies with the law, the statutes, and commandments, the second covenant, all right, we're going to be able to do all his commandments because we're going to be perfected. We're going to be perfect. And that's when all these curses is going to be falling upon our enemies. And we seeing that happen now. You know, the different judgments that's bringing upon these nations by Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. All right, we seeing with gradualism how these nations is, you know, dealing with these curses. You got Edomites that's dealing with broken homes, you know. Edomites that got different uncurable curses and, you know, these nations, so on and so forth. So we already seeing that transition through the spirit. Now let's load this back up over here in Isaiah 14. Let's go over here to Jeremiah 30 and finish this up. So once again, Jeremiah 30 and 16, therefore all they that prey upon Slakia, therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. For I will restore health unto thee. Give us this word first. First, that's how we get restored back to life. The word. Word is very important. It's knowledge, this wisdom, this understanding. It's how we get restored back to life. And these noble ones, these upper echelon Edomites, they know that. That's why they try to hide this truth. Psalm 107 and 20, he sent his word and healed them. The word is what bring that restoration. The word is what heals us and delivered them from their destruction. This is talking about only the Israelites. So back in Jeremiah 30 and 17, for I will restore health unto thee, starts off with the word, and then we'll get the kingdom after. And I will heal thee of thy wounds, the curses. The Lord will remove the curses from us, saith Yahweh, because they called thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion, whom no man seeketh after. Okay, so we were scattered. We were outcasts. You know, for a time, we didn't have a hedge of protection. We didn't have Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, and we was just destroyed. And this is what these nations say. This is Zion, who no man seeketh after. This is the Israelites that nobody, you know, that no man is, you know, taken care of. All right. Thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will bring again in captivity of Jacob's tent. The Lord is going to free us from the slavery and have mercy on his dwelling places. We read it in Isaiah 14, the Lord will have mercy on Jacob when we yet choose Israel. All the prophets saw the same thing. All right, they just wrote it. It's just written differently. And have mercy on his dwelling places, and the city shall be builded upon our own heap. All right, our land is going to be restored upon our own. The kingdom is going to be restored upon Jerusalem. The city shall be built upon our own heap, and the palaces shall remain after the former manner thereof. So the Lord is going to bless our land. All right, keep reading that. So back in Isaiah 14. Now I wanted to go into this word strangers right here. I'll actually read it from the top again for you. How will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Now, when you go into this word strangers, you have the word gar here. And it says sojourner, it says a temporary inhabitant, a newcomer lacking inheritance rights. That fits an Israelite. Now, even when we were in our land, you had instances where Jake will go sojourn in another area. When you read the book of Ruth, when you read about Naomi and her husband and her two boys, those was Judites that went and dwelt amongst the Moabites because of the famine that was in Israel. And then through a space of time, Naomi's husband died, her two boys died, and Ruth, which was the wife of one of her boys, she decided to stay with Naomi and travel back to Israel because things had gotten better. So when Naomi came, they recognized her and said, "Oh, this Naomi, what's going on?" and yada yada yada. So she was likened unto a newcomer. She was gone for a time period and then came back, but she was lacking inherited rights. That's why, you know, um, a whole situation with Boaz getting Ruth, so they can get back to the fold, so to speak. Read the story. All right, and I'm just summarizing it. It says of foreigners in Israel through conceded rights. So when it says strangers, it's talking about foreigners in Israel, scattered Israelites through conceded rights. Now sometimes Gar, when you come across this word, it could be pertaining to the actual heathen, but that's why you got to read it in context and you got to rightly divide the word in truth, right? So that's the word strangers there. I'm gonna read this verse here, and then that'll be it. And the people shall take them, the peoples of Israelites, them as these nations, because a promise to us is that we will rule over these nations with rigor, as given unto the Lord Yahushua. When you read Psalm the 2nd chapter, in the 8th verse, start at the 7th verse. It says, "I will declare the decree. Yahweh have said unto me, Thou art my son. This day I have begotten thee." We read Matthew the 17th chapter, when the Lord came down on a chariot and saw and approached Yahushua, Peter, John, and James. It was a voice that came out and said, "This is my beloved son, hear ye them, hear he him." Salaki. It says, "Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance in the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession." So part of Yahushua's blessing is that he will have the heathen for inheritance. And what we're going to do with the heathen, we're going to make them slaves. And in the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. So we'll rule the earth. All right. "And thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, and thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel." Because if these nations isn't keeping the law, the statutes, and commandments, there's going to be, discipline for those individuals that break the law, the statutes, and commandments. And this blessing that Yahushua received, we will be partakers of it as well. When you go to Romans 8, is it 8? Romans 8:17. It says, I started 16, "The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit." The Spirit is this knowledge, this wisdom, this understanding. "It self beareth witness with our spirit." It resonate with us that we are the children of the Most High. So we don't need a DNA test. "And if children, then heirs, heirs of the Most High, and joint heirs with Yahushua." So whatever Yahushua get, we're getting it too. "If so be that we suffer with him," you got to bear your cross, "that we may be also glorified together." All right. So this, you got to work for it. Scripture speak about the works. You got to suffer with him. So a part of Yahushua blessing, we're going to get it as well. And we're reading it in Isaiah 14:2. "And the people, the Israelites, shall take them, the heathens, and bring them to their place." And what we going to do with them? "The house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh," that's Jerusalem, "for service and handmaids." We're going to turn them into slaves. "And they shall take them captives," whose captives they were. The people who ruled over us, we're going to rule over them. "And they shall rule over their oppressors." Lord willing, you edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Double honors to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone and Toss Truth. Shalom, Akim, stay strong.